Well, Energy Media readers, today we're going to be talking about electrification of the home. And that, of course, leads us to the question of, will electricity replace natural gas in Canadian homes? And to discuss this issue, I'd like to welcome Daniel Talero, who's an analyst with Navigant Research out of Colorado. So welcome to the interview, Daniel.
Pleasure to be here, Markham. Thank you.
Now, you wrote this study of home electrification. It applies to the US, uses US data, but I'm sure there are many insights in there for Canadians. Why don't you give us an overview of the study?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you again. Really appreciate being here. And this study is, yes, global, and it's a look at the cost and performance improvements that we're seeing in this market, particularly for heat pumps and heat pump water heaters and induction cooking systems. So that's the general focus. We wanted to help our readership think about the different regional differences that we're seeing in adoption and some of the drivers that are different across different regions. So it's a very fragmented market, but we are hopeful this report will provide some good guidance.
Terrific. Now, what are some of the drivers?
So, like you mentioned, natural gas is definitely, still a very prevalent end use, but we're seeing, again, just excellent cost and performance improvements, particularly in air source heat pumps, that are leading to opening basically more scenarios where that technology is cost and performance effective. So for Canada, for instance, some of the newer models are especially effective in colder climates, and so that's a development that's definitely favoring adoption.
Well, I have a couple of friends who have put heat pumps into their homes, and they were actually complaining that their heating costs went up significantly, more than they expected.
Yeah.
Is that common, or is that a regional variation?
You know, that's, again, there are a lot of regional variations here, yes, and that is certainly possible. A lot of this depends on electricity rates regionally, the heating load within the home, the efficiency of the thermal envelope in the home. A lot of incentives from utilities are geared towards, helping people with the cost of these things. A lot of the installation costs can vary. That's a big challenge. So yes, it doesn't surprise me that happened. However, there are many more scenarios where that is changing than before.
I'm very curious about one thing. It strikes me that if you have your home electrified, that you might be able to use modern control systems, which are very, very sophisticated compared to the old ones. And you might be able to control the heating and air conditioning of your home and other inputs to help make it more cost effective. Is that true?
That is true, yes. Electrified systems are, yes, they tie into what I'm calling home energy management systems, and there's specific, vendors around that do what you're talking about, that, help homeowners manage different loads at different times. They can tie in also to what are called demand response programs for utilities, where homeowners get, excuse me, can be compensated for shifting their electricity load to different times of day. So yes, that's a big advantage in the long term, that electrified homes tie into those opportunities much better.
Now, I'd like you to, if you can, help us figure out where this electrification of homes fits on the adoption curve. So are we sort of past the innovators and the early adopters and heading towards the hockey stick, towards the blade of the heel of the blade, sorry, and going to hit the shaft of the hockey stick soon and see rapid adoption? Where are we at with that?
That's a great question, and it's one that definitely occupied me in writing this report. I am of the opinion that we are, ramping up, that it is certainly not yet the hockey stick. That I believe that is in the future. This report has a very optimistic forecast based on a lot of regional factors, particularly in the European Union, that are going to lead to further cost and performance improvements globally. But yes, this is still an emerging trend. It is a small market, and that varies regionally. But yes, I think in the long term we will see rapid adoption. However, we are not there yet.
Final question, Daniel. We're seeing the cost of renewable energy drop quite significantly. The Lazard levelized cost of energy
Yeah.
estimates from last
Yeah.
fall, put solar, utility scale solar and wind at, 2.8 cents, 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
That's
Does
right.
the falling cost of electricity spur the electrification of homes?
Absolutely, and that's yes. I'm glad you referenced that report. That's actually some of those numbers can be even lower in certain regions in the globe. So, yes, that is a massive factor favoring adoption. Utilities see a lot of benefit from this because it is load growth for them. Electricity demand has been generally flat in North America for a long time, so they are looking at ways to capitalize on this trend. And yes, I mean, as the price of renewables goes down, we will see electrified systems tied into that beneficial long-term trend more so than fossil fuel systems.
Excellent. Daniel, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate it. And I have no doubt that we'll be talking about this topic again in the near future.
My pleasure. Thank you, Markham.